Whoops. Another dollhouse followed me home. This one has a garage with windows. And I assume this is supposed to be the kitchen with some really cool vintage real wallpaper back there and cutouts. And this wallpaper reminds me of wallpaper that was in a relative's kitchen decades and decades ago. And there's even a bit of the ivy wallpaper that was in the first place I can remember when I was a little girl. Up here there's wallpaper cutouts and cowboys and a vintage lamb decal, I would say it is. This is a very primitive house, but definitely made with love. Probably a dad or a grandpa made for the kids. The cutouts are definitely really old stuff. I can't get it. That looks like a vintage Christmas card on the wall over there. And more greeting card things. Meticulously painted floors. I just really get a kick out of these kind of primitive but made with love old houses. The windows are tiny but carefully and neatly cut. Everything is done very neatly. And even just judging from the paint, I can tell it's enamel paint. So in between that and the wallpaper pieces, I'd say this house was probably made in the 30s, 40s maybe. Because it's not plywood, it's actual thin, well, some of it's plywood and some of it's just really thin wood. But it was one of those things I couldn't resist. At a dirt cheap price that I couldn't resist. So just we'll add this to the projects. Like I don't have enough projects already, but I'll find a place for it somewhere. And I think I've reached the point where these dolls' houses and miniatures is definitely a unfightable addiction. Now I have to just start buying furniture, which I thought I was doing, but that's a story for another day because that turned into a disaster. But made up for it by finding this adorable little treasure. I think it's too small to be full scale. I mean, you know, 1/12 regular dollhouse scale. But it looks a little bit big to be half scale. So I'm thinking maybe Lundby scale, like 1/16. But anyway, it has a future of some sort. This was the actual reason I went into that antique store. I saw this last time I ran in there for a quick look around. And I didn't ask how much it cost because I had looked at other prices in there and things were expensive. But actually, because half of it's missing, I did get it very, very, very cheap. It's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a cast iron one like my other ones. But it is stamped metal steel. Oops, wasn't paying attention to where I was aiming. This door opens, but none of the other ones do. but there's a stove grate that actually moves. And a couple things I'm not sure why function, but they do. But it's way too big for any of my dollhouses, but it's really cute. So it'll just go on a shelf, or maybe it'll get a room of its own someday, because I really have a thing for miniature kitchens, especially miniature stoves and vintage miniature stoves in particular. Just wood stoves or real old, like 30s style, 20s and 30s style gas stoves. So my imagination usually goes to building a whole kitchen around the stove. But this one's really big, but I'll find a place for it, and I'll cut something to make the burner covers. And since it actually is set up to hold heat, maybe I'll make an incense burner out of it or something. I don't know, but it makes me happy.